What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. My name's Quantum, and today we're going to be talking about HDMI 2.1a. Now, for years, if you've watched this channel, I have been the only person really just hammering home HDR is trash and it's a gimmick, and there are some really nasty things that happen, particularly when you have an HDR film running. Pull up the menu, and immediately you're going to notice, bam, there I'm hit with some really ugly SDR colors that haven't been converted. Well, now introduce HDMI 2.1a and its latest feature, called SBTM. Now, don't get bogged down by the technical mumbo-jumbo. That just basically means it means source-based tone mapping. I'm so used to super bit mapping from Sony that I actually said source-based tone mapping, or super bit tone mapping. So definitely bear with me, but you'll hear it here. Super bit tone mapping. Now, what super bit tone mapping is aiming to do is allowing your devices themselves to do the tone mapping instead of, again, having to rely on dedicated equipment that, again, may or may not have it. So you don't necessarily have to have, for example, an LG C1 to have dynamic tone mapping built in. Instead, you can enjoy all that stuff just because that's just the standard now, and I think that is very important. For years we've needed this. Now, it says that it's allowed to be upgradable, at least the HDMI.org organization, the people making the standards, say that you can just receive a firmware on many devices. Now, that's a very vague, very broad description. We don't know what that actually entails, but I'd imagine that that means that you can kind of go in and have your pick of the litter as far as devices that are backwards compatible with this. Hopefully, we don't see things like only the most expensive TVs getting this feature. And they also say that you don't need a special HDMI cable, so you don't necessarily need an HDMI 2.1 cable. They actually say that any HDMI cable will work. So you don't have to, for example, buy a brand new HDMI 2.1a cable, if I'm being very specific. I would imagine you still need an HDMI 2.1 cable, but they do say that any HDMI cable would work with this feature. So kind of has me thinking that they're kind of working in HDMI 2.0 into this as well, which is why it gets confusing, because then they're calling it HDMI 2.1a, but then they say any HDMI cable would work, so it's very weird. It's a lot we'd have to learn, but pre-CES we've already gotten some major news, and this is game-changing. Nobody's talking about this yet, and I don't know why. This is the one thing that needed to happen. Though, a running theory and a working theory, I have a theory as to why people aren't talking about it yet. They would kind of have to come off of their perch of saying HDR is awesome and admit that there were flaws that needed to be fixed. Well, if you know I'm the only one that's been pushing HDR as garbage and needs to be fixed for these very specific reasons, then you're going to know that super bit tone mapping coming out in HDMI 2.1a is definitely a pro-quantum TV feature. I am 100% behind this, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it, see what it's all about. I have no idea when the next devices are going to come out with them outside of new TVs. But now a lot of people are worried that this is going to create a new wave of scams. We're going to have manufacturers putting, we support HDMI 2.1 just simply for supporting the super bit tone mapping feature. So that's something that a lot of people are already warning you about. If you see, HDMI 2.1 SBTM compatible, right? They're telling you to be weary of that because maybe that could be a scam. But I mean, we know how to find TVs that are fraudulent and TVs that aren't. And if you don't know how, just make sure you keep it locked to Quantum TV, and I'll help you out in that regard. But that being said, though, I want to thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. Let me know what you guys think about this. Are you excited about it? You think you don't really care one way or another whether your TV properly tone maps or whatever the case may be. You like current HDR? Sound off down below. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.